I'm going to tell you about the Battle of Saipan. As you can see, the US and Japan are very far apart from each other. The distance is about 6,000 miles. The weapons at this time did not have a range that far, so it would have been difficult to attack Japan from the US. The island of Saipan is off the coast of Japan. By taking over the island of Saipan, the US would have a military base closer to Japan, enabling a more successful attack. The U.S. would also have a runway large enough to accommodate B-29 bombers, a place to house soldiers closer to battle as well as a place to store supplies for more attacks. Richmond K. Turner was Vice Admiral of the Navy. He and Lieutenant General Holland Smith led the attack on the island. Their plan was to attack from the east and west of the island. On the Japanese side was Lieutenant General Yoshitsuguro Sato, Lieutenant General of the Japanese Army. Chuichi Nemo was Admiral of the Central Pacific Fleet. The Japanese knew that taking Saipan would give the U.S. an advantage, and they were prepared to be attacked. General Sato had defenses in place offshore of the island. Bunkers were also built and ready for the attack. The attack came on June 13, 1944. The U.S. had 71,000 soldiers involved in the attack, and the Japanese had 31,000. The U.S. began a pre-attack from sea on June 13th. This attack lasted 2 days. By June 15th, U.S. Marines landed on the southwest coast. They were able to secure a territory of the beach that was 6 miles long by half a mile deep. Some of the weapons they used were tanks, tractors, B-29 bombers, planes, guns, and combat. They also burned sugarcane fields to create landing stripes for airplanes. On June 16th, more soldiers came into the island and were able to take control of the airport at Seleto Airfield at night. By June 20th, the Japanese soldiers were surrounded around Mount Tapachu. The U.S. soldiers were not prepared for these steppe mountains, which were also filled with the caves where Japanese soldiers hid. American soldiers used flamethrowers and explosives to force the Japanese out of the caves. Private Guy Gabaldon was a U.S. soldier that was raised by a Japanese family and spoke the language. He helped convince the Japanese soldiers to surrender. Emperor Hirohito, seeing they were losing, instructed the Japanese soldiers and civilians not to surrender, but to commit suicide, and told them they would be rewarded with spiritual status in the afterlife. Civilians and soldiers joined a banzai attack, knowing they would likely be killed. On July 7th, the civilians and soldiers attacked at night. The U.S. soldiers used a star shell to light the sky to see their attackers. This attack lasted 15 hours. On July 9th, Sato committed suicide instead of surrender. Civilians and soldiers jumped from the cliffs to kill themselves instead of being captured. Some soldiers even threw children into the sea and onto the rocks. By the end of the battle, the U.S. had lost 3,426 soldiers and 13,099 were wounded. Approximately 29,000 Japanese soldiers were killed and 921 were captured. Over 20,000 Japanese civilians were killed, fighting or by committing suicide. By taking Saipan, the U.S. forces were able to use it as a base to attack Tokyo in a later battle.
In 1994, a clash along Leak Gulf took place between the U.S. and the Japanese. The Japanese attempted to siege 3 naval forces stationed along the Leak Gulf. The battle took place from October 23rd to 26th and had what is now known as one of the largest naval battles in history. The United States Army, headed by Lieutenant General Walter Kruger, and his 6th Army of 132,000 men would push the shore of Lee on the 20th. The Japanese was commanded by General Yamashita Tomoyuki, and although there were some 350,000 Japanese troops stationed in the Philippine Islands, Lee only had 16,000. The Japanese suffered around 12,500 casualties, while the U.S. only suffered around 2,800. The warfare that was employed during this battle included the decisive air and sea combat. The Japanese sent a decoy to the 3rd U.S. Fleet that was north of the San Bernardino Strait while attacking the shore posts of the U.S. at the same time. On land, the Japanese forces moved southwest of Lee, where they could get into position for the upcoming series of surface and air clashes. The Battle of Lee Gulf would ultimately end in a U.S. victory. This battle was so crucial because it destroyed almost all of the remaining surface fleet of the Japanese and disabled Japan's ability to move resources and such from Southeast Asia to the home islands.